we'll be recording this as well and send you that as a link as a follow-up. Thank you all for making the time out of your busy day for joining us today. My name is Clark Richter. I'm the founder of company FASA LLC. We operate the Channel Navigator website, and the topic today of the webinar is basically using as a use case a hosted VoIP solution, how to identify telecom agents, IT VARs, and cloud solution providers using our online database tool, Channel Navigator. Here's the agenda that we'll go over real quick. It will be covering just using some statistics and data from a recent study from CompTIA and Channel Partners Online to kind of frame the conversation around trends between the IT VARs and telecom agents. We'll give you a quick overview of our solution and our methodology, and then we'll spend the bulk of the time on a live demo using this hosted VoIP vendor as a use case to actually show you how you can use the tool to identify channel partners within our system. But before I move into the channel trends, most of you aren't familiar with FASA LLC, so I'll give you a quick overview of who we are. As I mentioned, I'm the founder, Clark Richter. My background is primarily network security, infrastructure, data center types of stuff. The vendors I've worked for over the years are Checkpoint, WebSense, and Citrix. Really developed and launched a solution about a little over a year ago based on my experience in seeing a gap in kind of channel intelligence in the marketplace. Our parent company does channel development consulting, primarily for early stage companies, and then we operate two websites. The one, Channel Navigator, is what we'll be demonstrating today, is a subscription-based site for finding and identifying channel partners, and then we publish a subset of our data to a free IT solution provider locator called iRumbo, targeted more at end users to find a local business to help them with their IT needs. Our customers are typically vendors, service providers, recruiters, solution providers. They run the whole gambit of the industry in different areas, as well as typically we're working with channel marketing and salespeople as our customers. As I mentioned before, we've been in business a little over a year and have about 4 research analysts and myself as the business. So hopefully many of you have seen this study or heard of it, and I'll send you a link to it if you haven't seen it. It has some good data points. It's run by CompTIA and Channel Partners Online. They've done it for 2 years now, so you can start to see some trends. Just wanted to highlight some of the things that I thought were interesting based on our topic today. Partnerships are increasing portion of revenue between IT VARs and telecom agents, and the satisfaction is also increasing. Interesting nugget that I saw was 80% of the VARs that don't engage, which is not a big number. It's, I think, less than 15%. But the reasons they cite is they have never tried it or they're not interested. And we'll get to that a little bit later. One of the main drivers is obviously money. These are businesses after all. That's what they're interested in, making money. That's what keeps them alive. But 60% cited emerging technologies like cloud as a driver. So it's a good area if you happen to be in a space that's selling a cloud-based solution, you'll probably have a more receptive audience with the IT VAR channel. And I'm assuming from the registration, most of the companies on this call are coming at this more from the cloud or telecom type of agent type of side. So some of the things we've seen as challenges for companies coming from the telecom or cloud area in recruiting IT VARs, aside from the whole compensation model, is many people don't realize that the big telcos make IT VARs nervous. At some point in their careers, many of them have competed with them for the product sales within their end user accounts. So if you're working with those types of telcos, just keep that in mind that a lot of them are kind of reticent to engage with them because they've lost account control at some point to them. Many of the IT VARs, the smart ones at least, they're making their profit from the services and the follow-on work, and they look at selling products and services or reselling those products and services, almost loss leaders to get into accounts and get an ongoing service model with them, whether it's managed services or ongoing consulting work. VARs constantly reevaluate their partnerships. They typically have a couple of different classifications. There's the strategic ones that are part and parcel to their business, and then they have a lot of tactical ones that they're constantly reevaluating. So the door is always open for new tactical relationships, but the strategic ones don't necessarily change on an annual basis. VARs that are selling into the mid-market or enterprise space typically take their lead from their customers. They're not necessarily thought leaders within their customers. A lot of times their product portfolio changes with what their customers' demand is. And many people have the misperception that these companies are necessarily, architecting and designing the solutions for their customers. In some cases they are, but a lot of cases they're taking their lead from customers. The people you're trying to engage with are obviously very busy people, and they're prioritizing who they're going to talk to based on the revenue and the impact to their business. So my advice to you is if you can find a specific deal to sink your teeth into, especially with like their top rep, that's the way to really accelerate a relationship with an IT VAR is, revenue and a particular influential person within the account, and the rest will happen. If you happen to have a relationship with the owner or C-level type of person, certainly you can try from the top down, but typically it's revenue driven. One of the main conclusion of the study was that success between the IT VARs and telecom agents will hinge on good communication, understanding, and aligning of one another's business models. A lot of discussion goes on about the business models, this upfront margin versus the recurring revenue model, and you're seeing a lot of convergence of that. So it's important to be sensitive to that when trying to structure your compensation model with these companies, but many of them are going through the throes of moving to that recurring revenue stream. And collectively tapping into the emerging models such as cloud are where you're going to have your greatest success. We kind of went through the snapshot before, so I'm going to move and segue into kind of what we offer. Our database consists of about 12,000 businesses. This is primarily U.S. and North America data, Canada, I'm sorry. We cover most areas, as I mentioned before. Our strength is in particular is with security, data center, and network infrastructure types of solution providers. We have over 40 fields to search that you'll see. Probably one of the more unique things that we offer is multi-vendor relationships within there. And then we profile these businesses by their solution, service, and technology fields that we'll show you in a moment, and also try to provide kind of an employee or revenue number to help you in filtering for these. We have over 60,000 contacts with verified email addresses, and then we also classify those based on levels, departments, titles, and other things, which might be useful if your marketing department is involved in trying to create some targeted lists. So our methodology is pretty straightforward. We go out and identify resellers and partnerships through public internet sources, try to get a baseline of data into the database. We draw from the websites as well as call these companies to try to update the account information. We open it up for them to manage their own profile and publish them to their public partner locator with the hopes that that free marketing is enough incentive for them to volunteer information to us that we wouldn't be able to get otherwise. We go out there and identify and populate with the key contacts, try to validate those on a monthly basis. We're regularly removing them, adding them, and regularly touching about 15 to 20% of the accounts on an ongoing basis. We have a variety of different ways that people use us. Early stage companies just to identify and analyze their channel models. We have marketing people that use us as a source for contacts for recruitment campaigns. People use us to populate their own CRM systems for their existing channel partners, as well as individual channel managers or recruitment teams using us to identify new partners and so forth. We even have larger VARs that use us to identify acquisition targets in other ways. Here's a kind of a representation of some of the customers that we work with. So moving now into more of the meat of the matter, so to speak. Hosted and Cloud VoIP solution provider, we kind of use this as a fictitious example that we can structure kind of our live demo around. So this company, we'll say, is a recently launched company with a solution targeted at the SMB, less than 100 employees. Maybe they have a strategic relationship with Microsoft Lync. So they're interested in identifying some high potential new partners based on a profile of that they've identified based on 3 to 2 employees. So they want pretty small businesses that kind of service a local market between $1 million and $10 million in revenue. They want companies that are selling VoIP, hardware, software, service types of solutions, as well as unified communications, and they feel that's a sweet spot for a hosted type of VoIP offering to be added into the mix there. They're interested in quality versus quantity. And they want to see different types of partners. They want to see agents, They want to see IT VARs that are selling these types of solutions, this emerging kind of cloud broker, as well as companies that do managed services around UC and VoIP solutions. So with that, I'm going to segue into a demo here where we'll show you within the database how we can identify some different businesses. What we're logged into here is what you can have direct access into if you want, or anything you see today you can have delivered to you, via CSV or Excel file. We'll start out with just kind of showing you what kind of information we're gathering. So this is a business profile. The first section is the basic kind of mailing address type of information, a company overview, sometimes links to third-party sites. We classify the business as a type of VAR, so that means they list other manufacturers. They sell other people's products and services and bundle their own services around it. We have general solution categories like networking, telecom. Solution categories are kind of broad-reaching, like unified communication could mean email, it could mean VoIP, it could mean a combination of them, different things. And then we have the technologies, a little more granular, specific technologies, and we have service categories as well. And we'll show you how we use these for different ways we search and identify the businesses. The employee count, and sometimes we break that down into technical versus sales to give you a little bit better understanding of the business. Under Partner Insight on the left-hand side, these are typically drawn from their public website where they list their partnerships. And on the right-hand side would be where we've gotten that off a manufacturer's site and verify a certain level, which carries with it implications of certain volume or expertise. Moving down, sometimes we have some intelligence into their customers. They're selling into the SMB market segment. Are they a local, national company? Specific verticals they sell into, as well as customers that they're selling to specifically. So if you're in an account, you can export anything you see here into a PDF to take with you, give you a summary based on the data you saw there and the manager there. You can also utilize this tag cloud feature, which is tied to your profile. If you see an account or contact that's of interest, you can tag it, and we'll get to that in a little bit later. And then when you're in an account, you move over here, and we list some contacts. So maybe you're primarily interested in these C-level contacts at these smaller businesses. Under the contact, you see not only we have a free-form title, which a lot of people call themselves different things, but we also break that down into levels and departments for you to do specific searches based on those types of functional areas. And the validated email address, you can similarly tag specific contacts and maintain your own list tied to your profile, or you can export the individual contact via vCard, which is a common standard for taking it in and out of different CRM systems or your Outlook or what have you. So when you log into the system, you default into this view. As I mentioned before, that tag cloud feature. So here's where that list is maintained, and you can see those contacts that I just found there. So you can manage that on an ongoing basis as you find people that are of interest. Obviously, there's instructions there under the FAQs. The key metrics gives you kind of the high-level numbers that we have in the database. So there's 13,323 accounts. And then we break those down in different ways. We do have vendors in here, although we're not really profiling them. So the companies like the Ciscos and Microsofts of the world are in here. They're part of the ecosystem. Then we have service providers, which are typically the carriers, on down to maybe hosting providers. Obviously, there's some gray areas in here in terms of how companies define themselves, especially with the increased amount of software as service and so forth. But the bulk of the businesses that are in here are what we classify as VARs. They'll sell somebody else's product. They want to participate in that margin revenue, and that's about 10,000 of the businesses in here. And then we break them down into different solution areas like telecom solutions, virtualization, and so forth. And then again, this recaps some of the contact numbers that we have there. So moving now under the accounts area, here there's different ways to search within the database. You can search real broadly over here on the top right. So we'll search for like the vendor name Avaya, and this will take a little bit longer to run this query, but this will deliver results of contacts and accounts throughout the database. So they might be employees at Avaya, and then these might be resellers. They might be technology relationship companies of Avaya there. So that's one quick way to kind of search within here. Moving back under accounts, I can search for Avaya specifically here for account name. If you do get access to this and you're searching, I advise you to kind of search with less rather than an exact match. So this will just bring up Avaya, the corporate headquarters. I'm going to go under advanced search here, and you will see if I can search on where we keep track of vendors, and I go vendors, partners contains Avaya, that will pull up basically a list of Avaya resellers around the country here. So I can click into any of these, but one thing to keep in mind if you're logged in like this is you can't go back to those results. So next I'm going to segue, and I apologize I'm going through this real quick, but any of those that are interested, we can certainly schedule a follow-up call to go into some of this more detail. So I'm going to go into an area called filters. So filters are basically a saved search. This is terminology similar to your own CRM systems that you've probably worked with. So if I go into filters here and I edit the properties, we can start to dig into some of the use cases that we kind of highlighted that we're interested in. The choose columns are just what we display for the columns and the results that we'll see. I can set these filters based on data that's been modified recently, contacts added, stuff like that. So just getting the fresher data. If I go under advanced filters, you start to see how we start to construct this, the logic of our search. So we mentioned before, this company, this VoIP solution provider, they want to find companies that are selling unified communication types of solutions, as well as technologies and VoIP. In this approach, we're kind of taking the generic sort of, they're in the technology area that we're interested in. Now, if I didn't put type starts with VAR, I'd also come up with the vendors and other service providers, and you may or may not be interested in those. So I just wanted to limit this search to VARs. So if we start with that from a broad search category, we come up with about 2,000 businesses. These are all headquarters, by the way. These aren't multi-site locations. And obviously these range from very large companies, like a big DMR like a CDW, on down to a single person with a cell phone types of businesses. We'll kind of play around with this filter a little bit more, and you can kind of see some of the specific areas that you're interested in and how those numbers change. So if I also add in here a criteria of solutions contains, we'll say telecom. So these are companies that are selling telecom connectivity types of solutions. They may be selling carrier lines or work with a master agent of some form or another, and they're selling telecom based solutions. So if we narrow that down to those 2,000, about 385 are in that type of space. And that's not necessarily the only space they're in. That may be one component. Obviously, some of these are bigger, sell broader lines of IT solutions as well. The other example that we were interested in was, companies that are selling cloud, right? They're already speak of monthly types of, or selling multi-year contracts, but monthly invoicing and things like that. So if we say solutions contains cloud, this would give us the list of companies that are actually, selling cloud solutions. That could mean they're selling Salesforce.com. It could mean they're doing a cloud offering for a security solution. But anyways, they are selling, on board, marketing themselves as cloud solution providers. So that gives us 800 businesses there. There's probably a bit of overlap there. We can combine those. But let's also narrow this down based on our example there. We want to limit the amount of employees we're looking at. So let's say is greater than or equal to 3 employees. We want to find these kind of regional companies that are in a certain space. And then we'll say employees is less than 20. So this will narrow our numbers down here. So now we come up with 364 that are kind of in that segment there. We could also add in here, we mentioned we have a technology relationship with Link. So let's find companies, more from a vendor perspective that are selling Microsoft. So in all likelihood, they're probably selling the link solution as part of that. So you can see how this works. We get a kind of a narrowed focus here in helping us try to identify these businesses. We also had mentioned an interest in, also managed services. So let's add that in there. We can add up to 10 kind of search criteria in here. This is going to become a pretty narrowly focused list here. And how we capture managed service providers, we have about 2,500 of them in the database. Contains managed. Whoops. All right, so if we add that in there, we should have a pretty narrowly focused list. These are companies that are VARs. They sell unified communications or VoIP. They are, selling cloud-based solutions. They are partners with Microsoft. I can't remember what else. Oh, between 3 and 20 employees. So this might be kind of that narrow focus list that we're interested in, and that may be one way to address it, right? We might try with this, and maybe we do that for a month, and we're finding we're not having much success here, and then you kind of shift gears, and you want to adjust it and look at a different kind of partner ecosystem. But basically, that's kind of how you define your list, and then you can dig around in here, look at any of these individual accounts. As if you're an individual user or a team, you kind of look at the profile. These guys look kind of interesting. Let's go, see who I can try to call here. Or maybe your marketing department is also bought in, and we're providing them lists to call into here and use the tag cloud feature. So if your marketing department is also involved here, what we can do is open up another access, which gives you the ability to basically download information directly yourself. Otherwise, we can always just deliver you lists as well to make it easier. We just try to provide the best customer experience. But this gives you the ability to basically go in, select which fields you want extracted from the database, and then combine that with similar types of filter technologies. So this one is set up for people that sell unified communication, VoIP, or telecom. They're a VAR or a consultant. Kind of the difference there is a consultant wouldn't really necessarily want to sell or collect any type of revenue from a referral agreement. So they're typically product agnostic, but they may be in this solution set and maybe recommending solutions. So you want to include them between 3 and 20 employees, and you only want the C-level contacts, for example. We could also remove the contacts that are for the that we've bounced the emails or something like that. So then you run that report, and then you can go in there and basically it'll take a minute to execute here. The results will display on the page, and then you can just take that to Excel if you want. And you'll end up with a file like this, these fields that you wanted, and then you can basically import that directly into your own CRM system. Our goal here is to enrich your own CRM system, not to necessarily have you logging into ours every day. So we typically work with you and your teams on finding that right kind of channel targets, and then try to enable you with the information required in order to go after that yourself. So I'm sorry I talked real fast. I kind of went through that quickly. That was kind of covering, sort of the example of how you'd use this tool as an individual or as a team to access that kind of information. Here's we published this on our website, kind of a success story of it's a little bit different space in the desktop virtualization, but a company that utilized us basically to launch a channel program. They redesigned their channel program, wanted to relaunch it. We were able to provide them with a list of companies that specialize in virtualization, that also maybe had sold Apple, because that was kind of a differentiator for them, that they virtualized desktops on Apple as well. And then basically provide them lists for them to promote their program to. They got people to register for a webinar, not a real high opt-out rate from the list, and then that basically launched their program and started them on their path. They also had access for their individual salespeople in order to go into the database and look at specific markets. Maybe you just want to shore up your partners in a specific city or something like that. So as far as how we sell and go to market, we sell subscription-based access. It starts basically at $99 a month to access it, and it goes up from there based on the amount of users and the amount of contacts basically you're interested in. We try to structure it based on that. So in conclusion, the Channel Navigator tool is really designed to save your company time and money by bringing this business intelligence around the channel into one self-service solution. So, some of this information you can find out there on the internet, but you have to do the legwork to go find it from the different sources, and we're trying to provide that on an ongoing basis as a source for an ongoing stream of leads for channel partners. Marketing and sales can operate together rather than independently. And we think you get some real tangible results by you always own the contacts. And sometimes with marketing funds, you pay for a trade show and you get 100 leads out of it. But this you basically own the contacts at the end of the day. So one new relationship with a channel partner can easily pay for the types of costs that we charge for access to this. So with that, I'm going to open it up. If anybody has any specific questions, be more than happy to field them. Let's see if I can turn off. You can turn off mute by going. I think it's pound 6. Oops. You can also use the chat function there. Again, many people don't want to talk on these general webinars. I'm more than happy to set up a one-on-one session with anybody if you have specific questions. Basically, what we do is kind of do a specific demo, kind of similar to what we did, but very specific to your needs or interests. And then I leave you with a login. You can then test out the data for yourself. Happy to provide a sample of the information. So if nobody has any specific questions, I'm going to send you an email with a follow-up that'll have a link to the report published by CompTIA and Channel Partners Online, as well as we've recorded this session. If for some reason you got pulled out, or I'll send it to the people that actually missed the